Is it working? Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome back to some more Kerbal space program, and after much preparations, it is time to discuss about sending a probe to another planet. So, you want to travel interplanetary, huh? Well, I've got the right news for you. It is possible, just that it is a whole of a lot more challenging. I wonder where. Oh, these are below. Okay, that's lovely because they are much closer to our space center. So, which mission is that? I might grab those ones to do them. Um, they are below. Are they all below? I'm sorry, I'm deviating from the thing that we should do right now, but I just see money that we can grab easily with the aircraft that we have, and I just can't help myself. So, yeah, grab that one. And yeah, after all these episodes, after that we have done so far, you pretty much should be able to understand, most of the basics of, plan travel that there are in this game. I hope I explained them pretty much the right way to be understandable. If you watched all these episodes, you should be able to get into orbit without much of a problem. You should be able to get to the moon, land on it and come back, get to Minmus, land on it and come back, and also get outside Kerbin's sphere of influence and get back. Now, and also rendezvous with other vehicles in Kerbin's orbit. We have also managed to do that last episode. It is possible. So now the question comes, how do you travel to another planet? Well, you can pretty much apply the same things that we have learned to travel with another planet. It is possible. You can burn until you are in an orbit around the sun and then apply pretty much the same principles. You set this planet as a target, planet that you want to. In this case we will be looking at Duna. Then you try to make it so that your orbit is visually intersected with it, and then you just burn prograde until you get an intersect somewhere over on that place. Or you can also use the techniques that we have discussed when we played last time to obtain an encounter, the ones about encountering another object in space. They work exactly the same. You try to get as close as possible to the planet, then you set the nav ball to target mode. You burn retrograde until your speed relative to the target is 0, and then you accelerate straight towards it. And you can do it that way. However, that way is extremely inefficient, and it requires a lot of burns that is just way beyond any fuel capacity that you might imagine we have right now, even with the nuclear engine. So instead you have to do something called the Hofmann transfer, or Hofmann transfer, something like that. And it's also very useful if you know how to use gravity assist, but I'm not exactly familiar with those, so we're not going to talk about those. Instead, we are going to go ahead and talk about the Hofmann transfer, and for that I have exactly the right website prepared for it. The basic idea of it, and I'm gonna switch to the website in just a moment, is that you want to burn to make like an interplanetary travel when the planets are aligned at a specific time and when you are in a specific point around the orbit. So if I go to that website in just a bit. Alright, this is what I am talking about. It is actually a website made specifically and illustrated and interactive to calculate where and how much you need to burn in order to get to a specific planet. You can select any planet you want. You can say that you want to travel from Joule to Duna, and you can just do the math and it shows you. And yeah, this is extremely useful. And sure, there are other guides, and you can like read the entire like mathematics behind it and try to make it that way. But this is like there you go. You check out the guide this page is based on, written by Cosmonaut on KSP. So you can go to like um, the guide itself and try to figure things out, on your own. But this calculator does the job for you in a very relatively easy and nice way. So yeah, this is basically how you do it. You have Kerbin, the origin, and that will be the origin for all of them. You can choose like the parking orbit, 100 kilometers above the surface level, and then you can choose where planet you want to do. For example, for Moho, you'll want the Kerbin to be like this, relative to Moho and around the sun, with a minus 351.79 degree angle. It doesn't have to be that precise, but the closer you get, the less fuel you need to like perform adjustments to get into the sphere of influence and of Moho. And also your ship must be going that way, and it must be at 180 degrees towards Kerbin retrograde. Basically, in order to explain it better, Moho is closer to the sun or Kerbal than Kerbin, and therefore you have to burn yourself retrograde relative to Kerbal. So you slow down and make your orbit smaller in order to get to Moho. Similar to Eve, you have the same thing, only that it needs to be like relatively close behind Kerbin, and again you have to burn retrograde. For the other planets, though, for Duna, Dres, Joel, and Ilu, you will have to burn prograde. The ship will have to be coming on the prograde angle of 150, and Duna must be at a 44.36 degree angle relative to Kerbal and Kerbin. Basically, if you look at this at like a clock, if you move the map upwards, which we will do after I'm showing you this, Duna must be at like 1.5 o'clock, and Kerbin must be at like 3 o'clock. That is the exact way to do it, and you'll have to burn for you need to accelerate by 1043 meters per second, which it's not that much when you think about it. It's only 200 meters per second more than you need to get to the moon, and that's why this maneuver is much more efficient, and that's why you have to do it this way pretty much. Same for Dres, the dwarf planet that is in between Duna and Joel or Joule. You have to once again burn prograde at a smaller angle, but the Dres must be a little bit further ahead, pretty much almost a 90-degree angle. Joel must be beyond 90 degrees in order to get to it. And finally, Ilu, the last dwarf planet, which has to be even further away. And that's pretty much how to do it, all things considered. And as I said, it works the same, going back. You can say Ilu as a origin and the Kerbin as a target when you want to come back from Ilu, presumably. And there you go. Kerbin must be behind Ilu by 80 degrees, and you must burn at Ilu retrograde at exactly, well, exactly 94 degrees roughly. The ship must be towards Ilu orbit, or like orbit around the sun. The way its orientation in orbit, something along those lines. And yeah, you do need to burn a lot more than that, but hey, that's how you do it. And the really like annoying part of it, that I might say it that way, is that in order to do this, you have to wait at like a specific time for to perform these maneuvers. They're only going to be aligned that way once every 1 or 2 years in game. So that's why it's a little bit annoying, because you basically have to like time accelerate doing nothing until they're aligned, and time accelerate again doing nothing. Now there is a thing that can help you a lot with that, and that is like calculator. And there is like there are lots of mods to these games. This episode is more about talking, and it'll have a shipbuilding as well, but just in a little bit. So as I said, there are many mods to this game, and one of them is like a Kerbin calculator that you can use to like set alarm before doing certain maneuvers, or stuff like that. And it can also, it has a mod in order to like set alarms for when it's the right time to make an interplanetary travel towards a certain planet that you want. So you just set that alarm, you get your probe up in an orbit, you park it there, and then you wait for the right time to burn. And that's pretty much how to do it. Now, I'll leave this on the sideline and I'm going to return to the game and start bleeding the probe. Alright, and we are back into the game. Yeah. Now, as I said, you can do it two ways. You can either wait until your planet is perfectly aligned and then burn and just like time accelerate until that happens, but that means like skipping a lot of days. Instead, you can just send some probes and park them into orbit around Kerbin and then keep doing missions to the moon and Minmus and around Kerbin, which we still have loads of, and just wait until the planets are properly aligned to burn. Hmm. Game is having a little bit of a hard time right now for some whatever reason, but there you go, it shook off. Alright, so let us see. I'm going to go ahead, I need to put this a little bit to the side so I can see the calculator as well as the game. So we'll take them in order. Basically what I wanted is to see towards which planet we have to wait the less in order to perform the burn, like for what transfer are we the closest to like doing it, you know. That's basically what we want to do. So for Moho, if I have Kerbin oriented the right way, and that is like towards like 3 o'clock, Moho has to be somewhere around here, which is not. So Moho is clearly out of the picture for now. Eve, which is the closest planet to Kerbin, it requires the least amount of velocity burn to like get to it, but it's much harder to like land and come back from it because it's slightly bigger than Kerbin and it has like a thicker and larger atmosphere. So you have to think about it. What kind of a giant ship do I need to take off of Kerbin and get all the way to Eve? And then you have to think about, wait, so I'll need an even bigger ship to take off from there and come back. Kind of like that. It's gonna be Eve is like one of the biggest challenges to get to. Eve, there's also Moho has a little bit of problems because of its inclined orbit, and same with Dress and Ilu. But Eve is a real killer, all in all. So Eve is not going to be. It needs to be like slightly behind, kind of like this. So we're gonna go for Duna next. Duna needs to be ahead, but a little bit closer. Right now it's like a 45-degree angle, which is not good. Now Kerbin is in a smaller orbit, so it will catch up. So probably Duna will be the closest, but it's not exactly what we are looking for. How about Dress? Dress needs also to be ahead of Kerbin, which right now it's not. It's like way behind, and we're gonna have to wait a lot longer because Kerbin will basically have to come around and get behind it. How about Jewel? For Jewel, it needs to be at roughly 90 degrees, 96 degrees, and right now Jewel is like on the opposite side of the sun, like 180 degrees. So once again, it doesn't work. And finally, we have Ilu, which also needs to be at like 100 degrees, and it's like way behind, so that will not work either. Alright, so probably it's gonna be Duna, the one that will be the closest to launch. So now we go to the building phase, not the bleeding phase or whatever I said first. Now for once, what I want, and we're gonna take it in like very small baby steps. We're gonna want to make a probe that will get to there. We will not try and land from the first start, from the first go. We're gonna do like what a proper space program would do, and just send probes first and then send astronauts. Now we will send like astronauts basically on the second launch, but it's not gonna be on the first one. So we have like a little bit of extra time to think about it. There you go. Assuming we will want this probe to come back, so that's why the first thing that I put there is a parachute. What else? We will need like a service bay that will contain all those things, but before that we will want like some RCS for it that will be needed to control all those you know, fuel things. Additionally, we can put on some illuminators. We'll wait on those though. For now, we can. I want to put in some batteries. I think would be better, and we can put them on sort of like this, and that should provide us with enough electricity for the run. It doesn't sit like properly because it's a hex, and I made like quadrilateral symmetry. I hope it's good enough. It's not mandatory, but there you have it. We are going to need some communications. Obviously not that many, but still we will need some. Doesn't look that good when you put it this way, but how does it look like deployed? I think it's fine. It's a little bit to the side, so it might have problems when we'll come back on the re-entry, but at that point we will not need the Communitron anyways, right? Or maybe we will. So just in case, we'll also put like a smaller Communitron over here, and that will be for like you know, close range communication. Now what we need next is we will need a fairing that will cover this and keep it protected from you know, atmospheric takeoff, and that is I completely forgot. I think it's payload. Yes, there you go. Very good. It's a little bit edgy here. I might need it to make it like get the bigger one, but if we get the bigger one, that means that the ship must go for the big part already, which I don't really want. I can put it like, oh, alright, I didn't know you could do that. You can put it like a little bit off, you know, create like an artificial little place, you know. Now, is this more aerodynamic? I mean, it better be. That is very good though. I never thought about it. It's really ingenious. Yeah. And then we'll have the service bay. This might probably need more parachutes now that I think about it. So we will have to consider adding those as well, which they are on utility. If we want it to come back, obviously it's gonna need parachutes, so we're gonna add 2 drogue chutes over there and 1 more radial parachute over here. It's pretty big, but it should be fine. Now for the service bay, that is I think over here, I'm gonna need to put one of those. These are necessary in order to put on all the scientific equipment. The only problem is the Science Junior, which is slightly bigger than that. So the thing is that the service bay is more resistant than the Science Junior, so that will go first, and then this will go. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like, is this like too heavy to return on just the parachutes? I hope not. We do need the illuminators as well, something along those lines. And I also don't want to risk running out of batteries, even if it's the last stage, so we will put some simple solar panels on here. Now on the thing we will put all the science that we can get. Can put in one of these atmospheric fluid spectrovarionometer. The idea of it is that maybe we might be able to get like close enough to Duna's atmosphere that we might be able to use it. That's the hope at the very least. Then we can put in some of these. Only I could figure out the right way to have them. 2 of those should be enough to grab as much science. I think they're a little bit off. Yes, they are, so you need to put them slightly more inside, and now it should close in properly. That is very good. And now we also need thermometers. You also need to put them in such a way that they are like, you know, you can see them and use them. Well, we can definitely put them onto wait, let me grab them again. Can I not put them onto the, there you go, that is very good, on the back of the service bay, and same goes for this. There you go, and we have 2 thermometers and 2 barometers, 2 mystery goos, 1 science junior space lab, and an atmospheric fluid spectrometer. That should be, you know, as much science as you can get over here. And finally we'll have the, obviously the I always forget where I put these things. Where is the, there you go, heat shield. I was losing my mind there for a second. Ooh, these are big, son. These are some giant heat shields. But yeah, we'll definitely need the heat shield for when we come back. And sure, why not equip some radiators as well to keep things cool, nice and chill. Alright, now we will have this stage decouple. So this is basically the final stage that will return back to Kerbal, excluding the fairing, obviously, which will happen a lot sooner. Now we'll need to have the stage that will do all the hard work. Basically, it needs to be a stage that is capable to fly from Kerbal to Duna and back. Now going back is not going to be that easy, since because we don't land, we are going to be like on an escape trajectory. Like, we're gonna get closer to the orbit, but we're not gonna try and get ourselves into Duna's orbit, so it will require less burn, but still it will require a lot of burn. So what I'm thinking of are these two with maybe some on the edge enough, together with a nuclear engine. Nuclear engine is like the strongest that we have in terms of like specific impulse. It has very little thrust. It has like it has as much thrust as the Terrier engine, which is pretty bad, but it has more than twice the specific impulse, which basically just means that it's way more efficient, and it doesn't use oxidizer. That is very important to keep in mind, because what that means is that we can basically take off all this oxidizer and it costs less, and it also should weight less the ship in terms of like you know, transport stuff. That is very important to keep in mind. It's also important to keep in mind like whether you want a single engine or whether you want multiple of them, simply because of the fact that, you know, it's very weak in terms of thrust. So I'm thinking like 4 of those should be enough, hopefully, for like enough fuel for what we want. I'm doing the same mistake that NL is doing. Let's try and not do that. You want to attach them to the radial decouplers themselves, which does mean that we might need to put these like a little bit lower. And maybe a little bit more centered. Would be like a lovely idea for starters. Alright. And then we can add another one. And it's also a very interesting question, like, do you want to have the kind of you know, asparagus staging, because this part of the ship is only intended to burn once you get out, you know, into the upper stages of you know, in space. And in space you don't need you don't care about asparagus staging, because the like thrust to weight ratio no longer matters. Once you're in space, you just need to burn. You no longer need to have like a light ship. You know, as long as you can generate thrust, it doesn't matter how big the ship is. But we're still gonna use asparagus staging just because we are used to it. So this will go out like way before. It's kind of like this, bang, and then bang. That will be the last one. The engine, this engine will keep on going. So if we don't have engines, then you know the question becomes, you know, what do you put here? And we might just even put more fuel if we want to. And also we need to like remove all oxidizers from all parts, since we just really don't need it and we don't want to like waste fuel for no reason. And yeah, that will be the stage. This is not able to take off, by the way. Once again, this engine has very little thrust, so yeah. Also, the atomic nerve motor does not have a gimbal, which means that we will need some surface controls to you know, control it. So here's what I think. I put in one small inline reaction stabilizer there to control this part of the ship, and we'll put the RCS thrusters like below. I mean, we can put some here as well. There's nothing stopping us, but yeah, I don't know. So we can put them here. Then we'll need another decoupler. This is you know, something new that I'm trying over here. So you know, if you think that I'm doing wrong, you know, I'm waiting for your advice. As I said, I only managed to get them. I only did one interplanetary travel in my history of playing Kerbal Space Program, and it did not end up great. The ship toppled and I couldn't rescue it. So pretty classic in terms of my experience, but yeah, I feel that that might be a little bit too much. The thing is, what I want this to be able to get into orbit. Is this enough to get me into orbit? I don't know. It should be. It also might be a little bit too much. So yeah, we'll have the giant hydraulic detachment systems because we are going to put in even more of these. This is a massive engine. Let's not beat around the bush. This thing is gigantic, but it's as such for a good reason. What do we have here? We have the giant protective nose cones. We are also going to need a lot more struts for this one if we want to keep things balanced and connected. Speaking of which, we should also put in struts over here. Hope they are the right way. They kind of go through the fuel tank. Okay, well, we done it bad now. There you go. That looks fine. Alright, pretty good. And over here, I mean, we could put just more Mansell engines. They're just so much heavier though compared to the skippers, you know. Or we can put in the big dudes themselves, the twin bore engines, and just make a giant monstrosity that no one has ever seen before. Yeah, that should work. Sure, I can see how that could possibly go wrong. Bear in mind, don't try this at home. This is ridiculous, and the amount of money that we are wasting on this ship is even more spectacular. For some whatever reason, this ship is refusing to do things right, but I managed to convince it. I have a hard time believing this will be able to take off, but we're gonna try our best. Hey, come on. Put in the launch stabilizer. What the fuck just happened? Why did this turn around? Okay, put these there, take off these, put them again. Alright, now it's alright. Good. And we can have some more RCS thrusters, like for this part of the ship. And we need solar panels for this part of the ship. Of course, we shouldn't forget about that. So we're gonna put in 4 of these over here, and we're gonna put in, these are, I put the 3x2, huh? It should be fine. We're gonna put like 2 more over on the inside. If only I could hit the side of the ship. Is it like how do I remove the symmetry? I mean, we can put 4 of them and it should be fine as well, but it's a little bit overkill. Let's just say it that way, and we're gonna call this one Duna Probe 1. Yes, it is a probe, it doesn't have any crew. There's nothing concerning about this vessel. That's pretty good to hear, although I have high doubts about that. I want this to go here and this to go here. When these detach, this will keep going. When this detaches, we'll also want the fairing to deploy. And yeah, that should be pretty much good to go. This is fucking gigantic. Holy shit. Let's see if this can go into orbit and how much fuel we have left. It's gonna be trial and error. There's... Whoa. Careful there. Right. Okay, it's pretty stable. It's looking good. We don't have oxidizer on these upper stages. That is fine. We do need oxidizer on these lower stages. So let's launch. Okay, this is not looking good. Yeah, this is like very bad. Yeah, the problem is that the nuclear engine, let's revert flight. The nuclear engine is extremely big. It's not big, it's long, and it's making it very unstable here. So we have a few options. We can add more struts. Never go wrong with more struts. Can add some struts like this. And is this the right way to do it? I don't know. But the other options are to just, I don't know, somehow connect the nuclear engine directly to this, and I can't really see exactly how to do that and go right. Alright, the extra struts worked well. We can turn off the lights right away. We should have enough fuel, and we're going in pretty fast, so that's pretty lovely to see. We will need to go fast and furious for this one. Alright, we can lower our thrust to conserve fuel as we keep on going further up. ASS is keeping us stable, and things should go on pretty well. Cannot transmit science. I also hope that the probe that we have, the first satellite that we send, is like strong enough to beam back data that we will have from Duna. I do not know. At this point we should start the gravity turn. We will be using RCS and a lot more of it. But the thing is that once... Whoa, it's flipping. Yeah, this is not good. Alright, we'll do a flip. That is fine by me. And now stabilize. Alright, it's really wobbly, dude. Alright. So what I'm trying to say is that we already have the inline stabilizer, and that will be good enough for once we get out into space. We won't need the RCS. Alright, how's the orbit looking? Okay, it's looking pretty good. We'll stop it once we get to 100,000, and that's good enough. And I think we have way more than enough fuel for this one. I might have overkilled a little bit, but that is fine, you know. If we have to use this stage to perform the interplanetary injection, that is also fine by me. That means less fuel needed for the nuclear engine. Alright, so we can deploy the Airstream protective shell already. We can extend the antenna so we have direct communications. If you hear some noises, that is the what's it called, RCS going. We can also deploy the solar panels. Have some on the ship already, but apparently they do not get any electricity. Guess it's because the sun is over there, and they are kind of covered. Yeah, blocked by the aerodynamic nose cone. Huh? Okay, well that is fine though. Just orient yourself roughly on the horizon using your monopropellant, and then we will just burn ourselves into orbit. How long it will take, I don't know. Let's go at around 95,000. I think that should be enough. That sudden acceleration could have been deadly for a Kerbal. Well, not deadly, but it could have shook him pretty strong, if I may say so myself. Right, we deployed those, and now we are on this stage, and we see the same problem, and that is this thing is not good. So what we do, I mean, we can reduce the thrust, and that should keep it more under control a little bit. We do need to get into orbit though. Can't afford to like wobble around aimlessly. So this can be solved with a little bit of extra struts that go from here to here. It's not that big of an issue, but slight bit of annoyance. Alright, almost into orbit. Just a little bit of patience and we should be there. How about if we turn off the RCS? What will that do? Because the RCS, while it's good to make the maneuvers easier, it also can like overcompensate for stabilization. Okay, we almost have it. Don't even worry about it. I'm a professional, alright? Okay, and with this, we are into orbit. I'm going to wait a little bit more until we are at apoapsis, so I can like raise my periapsis so it's like a very circular orbit. You want to try and make your orbit as circular as possible. It is a slight bit of a problem, but there you go. If we burn like slow enough, we shouldn't have any issues, you know. And oh, there you go. It's all we needed apparently. Alright, and now the ship is ready. It's in position. All it needs is to be at the right time, and yeah, it can launch into a Duna encounter. It will take a little bit of time until that will be the case, but hey, it's fine by me. I think this ship can make it, so I'm going to leave it parked here, and we're gonna go back to the space center, and we're gonna launch like a bunch more. We're gonna make some modifications to it in order to not have the same issues that we have before, and that is to add just a bit more struts. I think if we add them from like here to here, that should be like good enough to keep all parts stable. I think we might need you know, to go ahead and test it again, and we can do that, but yeah. The other question is this like strong enough to get us to other planets apart from like Duna? I think it can get us to Eve, because you know, as I said, Eve is like the closest, and since it can get us to Duna, then it can definitely get us to Eve. But I'm not sure about the others. However, we'll have to wait and see when we get to those. I've also upgraded this building. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned it, and I would like to get the leadership initiative. It does mean that we enough science, huh? It does mean that we get less funds, science, and reputation for contracts, but we get way more from like accomplishing milestones, you know. It's very expensive though. What we can do else? Well, can do outsource R&D as well. Get we sacrifice some funds for even more science. Takes a lot though. Fundraising campaign. We cannot do that. We cannot activate as other conflicting strategies are already active. Oh, we cannot activate it because we already have strategies that takes a reputation, I think. Yeah. These are the kind of things that are like actually conflicting, but it's also apparently conflicting with the unpaid research program. Interesting. Available free for all Kerbal kind can only be seen as a good thing. R&D will probably not be at its peak efficiency, however, with all the noise these outside opinions get to generate, huh? We can also get this one. This I think should be like conflicting because we use this to like sacrifice reputation to get science, and then you use this to like sacrifice science to get reputation. Doesn't make much sense. Alright, well anyway, we've been through this episode long enough. Basically what I want to say is that I will go ahead and launch like you know, ship after ship into an orbit around Kerbin and have them ready for the time when we need to burn for each particular orbit, and until that time comes we can keep making more missions to the moon and more contracts as well. Yes, this will be probably the next episode, you know. It will be just a simple episode of like contract refining. And also further upgrade the tracking station, which might not be a bad idea. Or the mission control, or the runway, you know, there are many things that we can do. Or the R&D lab. We'll see. You guys can also come up with ideas as always, and we also do need to hire like, you know, maybe like an extra scientist or something like that in order to operate the mobile research lab once we get it up in there. I also think that we should maybe send a few more probes with the new communication technology, the relay antennas that we have here, just to make like 100% sure that we will have connection to Duna, you know, and to other planets. Well, anyway, this episode just a lot of talking, but when we come back, we'll get back into action. You can rest assured that we will do that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you next time with probably some contracts, refining, probe sending, stuff like that. See you guys next time. Bye bye.